So in religious studies, the distinction between the sacred and profane is not a strict distinction. It's defined differently in different traditions. But Eliade is a sort of a separate sort of category. But what Berger is doing is sort of showing, and what scholarship has sort of shown, is that what humans or different traditions consider sacred is largely something that they have constructed, right? Something that they perceive to be different, separate, and other, something that is distinct from everyday sort of life. But every tradition sort of defines it in different ways. But it is largely a constructed category. There is nothing that is inherently sacred and distinct from the profane. That's what most religious studies scholars would sort of argue, that these are distinctions that religions make. But so, for example, in the Jewish tradition or in many traditions, right, the temple is considered to be a sacred place, a place of God, but we define it that way. But what is it that might make that impure? Well, a menstruating woman, or anything related to blood, or any deformed priest that goes in there, right? So those things that are considered to violate the sacredness and purity of that place, we can see are constructed things, right? They're things that we perceive as being impure, right, that can somehow contaminate what we're defining into sacred space. But what I'm sort of contending is what we consider sacred is something that we sort of impose that value on it ourselves. We sort of create that understanding of the sacred, if that makes sense. So what's interesting about the study of religion is studying how do different traditions define what is sacred and what is to remain pure and offset and separate from, and that sort of thing. And very often that ends up being an interesting sociological analysis about who can be admitted to that place and when, and that sort of thing.